All right, everybody. Sorry about that for those of you that started the last stream. As you've noticed, we've been trying to bump up the production value here. So we've been adding a lot new who's its and what's its and intro videos and outros. And for whatever the reason today, the bandwidth of StreamYard decided that they had enough and that we had officially added too many new elements to this show. So for one, we're going to get it fixed for next week, but for right now, we're rocking with no intro video just so that we can get this show on the road. And we've been screwing with this for since 9 o'clock, so we've just about had it over here.
Yeah,
but
it happens.
The important part of everything is the Phillies did not have one single starter in the All-Star game. Probably would have had Wheeler take the bump, I would think, if he decided to throw, which he didn't. So the Phillies were without a starter, and we only really had one representative in the All-Star game, despite the fact we have the third best record in the National League. That's beside the point. But they still couldn't keep us down, Ryan. They couldn't keep us out, and Kyle Schwarber did what Kyle Schwarber does best, and that is hit nukes in timely moments. And I don't love the idea of a swing off to finish a game. I think it's perfect for the All-Star game. Let's leave it there. But seeing Kyle Schwarber completely steal what was destined to be Pete Alonso's big moment was really something beautiful to behold. Pete was thinking, there's no way this guy goes 3 for 3. I'm going to be the hero. I'll be the MVP. I mean, he was already polishing that glass bat. And then you just see Phillies fans have seen that swing so many times that every time that he connected with one, I was like, there's 1, 2, 3 for 3. Like, I mean, the man is just out of this world.
Mm-hmm. There's bigger problems with the All-Star game that we could talk about because, Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani already left the ballpark at that point.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You got to stay. What are we doing?
I don't know what the sport's doing anymore, but Kyle Schwarber coming in clutch as always. 3 for 3. I mean, he was the perfect guy to put in there. I mean, Pete Alonso, like you said, he was dusting off the trophy. He had the home run in regulation. He was destined to bat third, and then Kyle Schwarber goes 3 for 3, seals the thing, and of course, All-Star Game MVP. It kind of feels like it's crazy how he was the only guy there and he's won the most prestigious award. I mean, you have to love that, but
you can't keep the Phillies down. Well, actually, you can. A lot of teams have, but
it's tough. But I want to talk about the guys that didn't make it that should have. I think. I mean, Christopher Sanchez and Ranger, they turned down their invites, so I'm pretty sure they were going to be there anyway.
From what I understood, Ranger turned down his. Chris Sanchez's agent came out and said that he did not receive one.
I thought he did, and it's been a weird saga. I saw so many reports that I don't know the true story because I saw a report that said they wanted him to pitch an inning, but he pitched on the Sunday before, so
I don't
know what really happened there, but anyway, it's terrible how it kind of just happened, but I think Trey should have made it. You could argue that he didn't. You could argue that Lindor was, the starter, and that's okay. You can make that argument. But then you have Mookie Betts hitting like 250. I think it was 245.
Yeah.
Right before the break. He might have improved a little bit.
And Trey leads the NL in hits.
It's kind of I don't know how to put this properly. It feels like there's an anti-Philly agenda going on. I understand that the pitchers, the 3 that deserve to make it, turned it down, or in Sanchez's case, didn't get an invite somehow. And there's a couple of guys who I could easily just throw right under the bus and say they did because they're not having that great of a season. He's 5th in WAR. Come on, dude. He should have been not a starter, but he should have been in. He should have been on the first go around.
I agree. And I think what hurt him and what some of the reports have gotten kind of right, kind of wrong, is the league assumed that because he threw Sunday, there was no way he would throw in the All-Star game, which is a correct assumption. However, his agent had said that if he had gotten invited, he was open to the possibility of throwing. I don't think the Phillies would have been on board, but that's neither here nor there. these things at the end of a guy's career or at contract time do matter. And you had enough guys that you invited who also dropped out. So what's one more? I thought it was a super classy move by John Middleton and the Phillies to pay him his All-Star bonus, even though he didn't make the All-Star team. Because, like, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Ranger turned down his invite. That was up to him. They were like, hey, you're welcome to come throw. We'd love to have you. He looked at what happened to him last year where he wore down and said, nah, probably, not a good idea. And I appreciate that, Ranger. But Chris had a clause in his contract for a bonus tied to an All-Star game. So when you don't invite those guys just out of a perception that, he probably wouldn't throw, I think that's where a lot of people have a beef because he did deserve it. You took money out of his pocket. And, when all's said and done, how do we talk about these guys? 5-time All-Star, 4-time All-Star.
I think we should stop that.
Cy Young.
Honestly, I think Cy Young's the ones that matter now. All-Star games and Pro Bowls and All-Star games don't really matter. So,
no, I think they should only count if you got in on the first go around. Because now, and we'll get into this in a second. If I do want to get your opinion on it, but like that kid from what the hell was it? Milwaukee. Like, I mean, he's probably a good enough kid. But that All-Star game on his resume is meaningless. He threw 5 games, and they needed somebody who was going to, sell tickets and get social media clicks, so they put him in. But I mean, that just cheapens what the All-Star game is worth.
I mean, it's happening on both sides too. I don't want to say it's just Philadelphia. I mean, Nathan Eovaldi. I mean, he pitched on Sunday, but he should have been named too. He's a 1.58 ERA. Like.
Yeah,
these are guys that should get in, at least get the honor, and then replace them again. Like, is it really that hard to replace them twice?
I believe Eovaldi also got paid. I think his organization.
That's right. He got paid a bonus. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like they got to pick a lane with the All-Star game. You either need to stop tying it to contracts because you're taking money out of these guys' pockets now if you're doing these assumed non-attendance, or you got to make it actually mean something again. And remember, like back in the day, like the MLB All-Star game meant more than anyone else's All-Star game because it determined home field for the World Series. Mm-hmm. Like guys they played hard. Like, if you were a World Series contender and you had guys like, Zach Wheeler or whoever who got in, there's every reason to pitch because they expect to be there in October. They want to be the home team. When you take all the meaning out of it, then why should these starters throw?
They shouldn't. And I'm glad, it's one of those things where I'm glad they didn't pitch, but I'm also not happy they didn't make it. It's really a fine line that I'm towing here because you want them in, you want the guys to get recognition, but at the same time, you don't want them to risk injury or anything. And, Eugenio Suarez got plunked and he's going to get traded in 2 weeks. So, there's a fine line you have to toe in the middle here, but I just think it's, all the All-Star games are getting kind of ridiculous at this point. They're trying to figure it out with the NBA. They already took away the Pro Bowl and replaced it with dodgeball in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's really interested anymore. And it's kind of funny because the event's coming to Philadelphia next year. The All-Star game and the Derby, they're coming to Philly.
I mean, the Derby still has juice.
Oh, the Derby was – I mean, I think they've ruined it a little bit or a lot because you saw how electric that swing-off was.
Yeah.
That was the Derby format. They had it.
Yeah, people don't love time. I'm kind of with it. I liked you had outs and, getting a pitcher meant a lot and, choosing your pitches meant a lot. And you could see a guy rip off 4, 5, 6 bombs in a row. Now at the time, you don't get that anymore. If a guy goes 3 for 3, it's the announcers start getting hype. I mean, you think back to those Josh Hamilton home run derbies where he would just get red hot and every time he swung, it went out. Like, how did we look at that and go, yeah, but what if we made it 2 minutes? I'm not with it.
I mean, you saw Jazz Chisholm's performance. Obviously,
he sucked.
It was something, but the format didn't do him any favors either. But it's just one of those things where we're going to talk about this more in the coming year because obviously we're going to gear up for it coming to Philadelphia because it's such a huge thing, and who knows when we're going to get it again. Maybe never,
Not as long as we have CBP, probably.
That is true, but I read this headline down here, and it's we've talked about this one a lot too, and I think
So
the stove got a lot hotter over this past week that we missed.
yeah, so I want to know if you saw the same. I think we follow a lot of the same people, but I saw a tweet today from one of the Phillies guys that I do trust more than most, I would say. And it was a conversation with Kyle Schwarber, just talking about the off season and what life could look like if you don't come back to Philly. And I think there's a part of me that just wanted to kind of take a approach and say, hey, I'm going to do my job here, and we'll see what the offseason has to say for us and whatever. And I thought what was troubling was that he kind of does have a little bit of a plan B. He mentioned hometown Cincinnati as an option, and that's where I fell in love with the game. How cool it would be to come full circle and finish out where you started, and not started, but I'm saying, like, started playing ball. And that's when it got really real for me. I was like, oh, Kyle's got a plan. Like, it's not Philly or bust.
Oh yeah, that's when it got scary, and I mean, he would absolutely mash in Great American Ballpark.
He
Like
would.
there's no question about that. Like, it's just scary that the Phillies might be trying to shed some payroll, and the most obvious candidate is Kyle Schwarber because he's off the books, and you want to make one last push at October, but it's kind of scary that it might not happen. I still think it does. Like, don't get me wrong. We've talked about it, and I think every time we talk about it, it's on a standard slope upward that we think, oh no, this might actually happen. He might actually leave. It feels like every time we talk about it, it gets progressively worse.
Yeah.
And I feel like now we're at our peak because he mentioned another team.
Yeah.
So I think it's all coming to just, like, I know he's locked in. I'm not concerned about anything. I'm not concerned about his performance in the second half. He's locked in. He's focused on a World Series. It's just after that it gets really concerning. But the Phillies have enough payroll to pay him, and they'll still be under what they paid this year. So
Yeah,
I still think it gets done, but man.
You're going to have that Taiwan deal coming off the books, which frees up close to $20 million. I mean, obviously you got to pay some other guys, but they do have the breathing room to bring him back. And I can't imagine it would be the defining failure, and it could be job worthy, I would say, of Dombrowski if he watches Kyle Schwarber walk out the door for absolutely nothing. I mean, I think that is every reason to lose whatever faith the fan base has left. And I think, at least speaking for myself, it's still some. I'm not hopeless about what he'll do. He's built a good baseball team. He hasn't crossed over into great yet, but he's built a good team. So I'm still willing to give him the grace to figure it out. But if this offseason comes around and they bungle this Kyle Schwarber contract to the point that he walks, I will have lost total faith in Dombrowski.
Oh, we've talked about that too, where the team or the city just turns on the team, and it hasn't been like the way we kind of expected a little bit. We kind of expected a little more backlash. They've been so good though, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But I think if Schwarber leaves, that is going to be like the moment you could pinpoint the things turning south in the city. I think a lot of people are going to lose a lot of faith, not just us, but I think a lot of people are just going to be like, okay, they don't want to win anymore. It's over. Like,
and somebody who I think has benefited from Schwarber's presence and how spectacular he's been this year is Bryce Harper. I mean, look, when Bryce gets hot, he gets scorching red hot, and he turns into one of the best hitters in all of baseball. And he tends to get back there, whenever he loses his way. And he started to really put some nice games together before the All-Star break. However, if you're living in a world where this team suddenly doesn't have Kyle Schwarber, who by all accounts has been, the vocal leader, the veteran leader, at large points in this season, the production leader, you're paying Bryce north of $300 million to be a transcendent franchise player. And by and large, he's been that. But at any point when he hasn't, he's always had Schwarber to kind of keep him away from that Joel Embiid level of scrutiny. if you were to remove Kyle Schwarber from this team and Bryce Harper has to be the one and the only, I think he better call Joel and get some pointers on how this city can be, because he's been very fortunate to have a guy who's beloved and who's almost like a larger-than-life presence to kind of overshadow Bryce at times.
There's been moments where he feels like the guy in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I mean, Hoagie Fest. Well, I mean, it's literally Schwarber's thing.
He's got Jason Kelsey qualities.
He really does. And, he should finish his career out here in Philadelphia. And I hope he does. But I think, back when we talked a while ago, it was about, okay, 85%, 90% he resigns. It's just speculation. Now we're creeping into the 70s and 60s. It's kind of scary.
We're more likely than not, but far from certain.
Yeah, I think it still gets done. I mean, he's so important to this ball club. You can't let him walk. No, if you let him walk and the contract is similar to what we think he's going to get, you just can't believe in Dave anymore.
No. And Dave will be part of this next segment, I think, a little bit. I want to run through. We'll keep it broad because we only have about 14 minutes to get through the team. So we'll just go at position group overall. Actually, that's no fun. We'll group the pitchers together. But I want to kind of we did this before the season. We had some picks on who we thought was going to be the X factor, who was going to outperform, who was going to underperform, who's going to be the strength of the team and stuff like that. So I wanted to check back in at the midway point. And I think, and you can please correct me if I'm wrong, I think we can both agree to just skip the strength of the team question because the starting pitching has been otherworldly. Mm-hmm. So I think they're clearing away. Look, this Phillies team is not anywhere close to where they are, if not for probably the best staff in baseball, and honestly one of the best Phillies staffs since or including the four aces. So I feel like that goes without saying. But what are some other, maybe a guy who surprised you this year, somebody who's taken a step back, and then somebody who you're looking for a big second half out of?
Look, we can just give the pitchers an A+.
Yeah, we'll just skip them in general. Pitching, starters.
The starters. I mean, it's kind of tough because it feels like the Phillies are winning so much, but yet it feels like it's only three guys producing. It feels like at times. I mean, I'm going to go with Trey off the bounce back here because it's an easy one. He should have been an all-star. I mean, Mookie Betts, we had that conversation earlier, but it feels like he's starting to find his groove when a lot of the team it feels kind of off outside of Harper and Schwarber, except for certain nights where they go out and score like 13 runs against the Giants. But it kind of feels like it's Trey, Bryce, and Schwarber for most part, and Castellanos and Bohm contribute too, and still it's removed. But like, it kind of feels like a lackluster first half, and yet they're like 20 games over 500.
Yeah, I mean, the offense could definitely be a lot better. Like you said, Trey is A+ first half. I mean, this is the Trey Turner that we saw in the World Baseball Classic and the one that we were so excited to get. And again, I mean, I've been talking about it, and I love Bryce Harper. I mean, he's been everything he was expected to be in Philadelphia and probably more. But he hasn't had a great year this year, and he's been able to do that because Trey's been sensational, and Kyle Schwarber got off to an extraordinarily hot start. So we have, 2/3 of your stars are producing. Bryce is starting to get it rolling. I would give a little bit more credit, honestly, to Bohm and Casty. I think, they're doing a little bit more than chipping in. Bohm's been really hot since having a terrible first month. Casty's it's so popular to hate on Casty. He's been so freaking consistent this year. He's always there for you when you need him. He's hitting for a pretty high average for somebody. Like, I get that the power numbers aren't there, and you'd like to see him eclipse 20 home runs consistently. Look, at this point, with the way this offense has been sputtering, if he's hitting north of 270 with a little bit of pop, I'm quite all right with how Casty's playing. And then a guy who, I don't think is quite in the category of, carrying this team. Not really by any stretch, but he's played a lot better is Brandon Marsh. Since the start of June, if you just narrow down from June until now, he's hitting north of 300. So he had a horrendous start. He got right, and he looks like a guy who can control something, not defensively, but he looks like a guy who can hold down center field in this current predicament that we find ourselves in.
I just thought it was so easy to pick one of the three guys because they've been doing it all season. Obviously, Cassie's going to come up in the clutch. We know that.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about him. Bohm, as long as he doesn't get into one of those stretches that he does, he'll be fine. I'm not concerned about these guys. I just wish we saw some development. I was arguing with a couple people the other day. I wish we just saw some development out of these kind of homegrown guys. Like, obviously, JT's approaching the end of his career. Casty, Turner, Harper, Schwarber, they're all vets. They don't really need, progression. But, like, outside of recently from Marsh, and then you got Stott, it just doesn't feel like development's happening. And then, obviously, I think they need a left fielder at the deadline.
Yeah, there's talk of sending Stott down to figure his shit out because, he's hitting, I believe he's just slightly over 200 now. He's in zero at the plate, unfortunately. So he's the big one where, you had a guy who seemed like he was ascending 2 seasons ago, had a bad year last year, but you thought it was from injury, and then this year he's worse. So he's a guy who's kind of lost. Johan Rojas, I believe, was brought up too early and just never got his feet under him because, again, he was another guy who came up and showed promise. He was an ace center fielder. He couldn't hit, but you thought it was going to come. And we're a couple seasons past that now, and it still hasn't come around. Bohm has his ups and downs, but he's a professional hitter at this point. He knows what he needs to do and how to fix himself.
Yeah, he's fine. As long as he doesn't hit one of those slumps in October, then we're good.
Yeah, but
he goes on those runs where it just gets disastrous.
Yeah, he can get ice cold. But you judge your hitting coach on the guys that he needs to coach up, and
good.
No, I don't give Kevin Long a lot of credit for what Schwarber's done, Turner's done, Casty. These are guys who are your vets in the league. They know what they need to do. They don't really need a lot of coaching. But you look at the guys who we've brought up through the system, and Stott's regressed, Rojas has regressed. The guys that he was Marchand has regressed. The guys he was supposed to bring along have gotten exponentially worse.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad what they did with the draft. They just said pitching.
And most importantly, college pitching.
They could be bullpen pieces come October.
The only guy who probably would have been Wood.
I don't think he does, but.
And they already said that they're too committed to him being a starter at some point to mess with his development like that.
That's fair. It's just I don't want to pay the super price for a reliever yet again. It feels like Dombrowski gets caught in this cycle where it's like, oh no, I don't have a reliever. And obviously this year was different because last year they just didn't have one.
Yeah.
But this year, Alvarado, the suspension, he's not going to be able to pitch in the postseason. So this is a little bit more of a unique circumstance. So I'm giving Dave a pass for this one, but he still ends up in the same spot.
Yeah, it's expensive. A little bit to not necessarily to his credit, maybe more so to Caleb Cotham, who's the anti-Kevin Long. Caleb Cotham does a really good job with a very limited amount of talent that he's given out there. Now, you can credit him with the ascent of Chris Sanchez and Ranger Suarez because under the Rob Thompson regime and Caleb Cotham, they've both turned into superstars. And he's getting a lot out of guys in the pen who were either castaways or brought up from, the minors. Tanner Banks has gone from unplayable to probably your third best guy out of the pen. You're bringing these guys up from the farm system, like Stevenson. I'm trying to blank on the other guy. What's the other guy's name? Not Lazar.
Yeah.
He's getting meaningful innings out of guys who weren't supposed to be big leaguers. So I guess the hat off to him for working with what he's got. But I mean, Dave's got to get out there. I would love to see the Clase and Quan duo come over, depending on what it costs.
It's going to be so expensive, though.
I mean, anybody who's not named Andrew Painter at this point, I think, has got to be at least discussed.
I mean, I agree, but I really don't want to give up Baden Miller. But at the same time, the Phillies have proven that they can't develop hitting. So
what the hell's the point? Let's cut our losses.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm becoming more open to it as the days go on, as I see, these guys not being developed. So I'm definitely more open to it. I think you keep Payne around. I mean, Abel, you could send off. He's been impressive for the most part, but send him off. I'm okay with that. It's just this team needs to win. The window, we've talked about it so much as well. The window is closing. I think this is the last year, especially if Schwarber leaves. This might be the last year regardless.
Yeah, but because, I mean, even if, let's say in a world we're able to keep Schwarber, you are losing a frontline rotation guy this offseason. You just are. Like, you are losing a sub 2.5 ERA. Unless
you defer all the money.
Yeah, which Scott Boras is not going to do.
Yeah, you're right.
So, like, right now you have 3 guys who are probably top 10 Cy Young candidates. And if you don't capitalize on this now, I mean, Zach Wheeler's ageless and spectacular, but the cliff comes for everyone.
Retirement's coming. We got 2 years.
Yeah. Chris Sanchez is young and great. He'll be fine. And Rangers pitching his ass off, but he's going to cash in. So if you want to win this thing, it is right the hell now.
Mm-hmm. I think, I don't know, man. There's something in my brain that's telling me that this team should pay Ranger Suarez no matter what. But
I would love to. I'm with you, but I don't know.
I think you got to shove him the money and figure it out later. Because if you lose him, if you potentially lose Schwarber, it's over. Window shut. You're done. You're not beating the Dodgers. Probably not beating the Padres. You're probably not gonna beat the Mets again. Like,
and don't look past Chicago.
Yeah, they're gonna get hot, and they're gonna do some stuff in the postseason. So, yeah, I agree there. There's so many teams in the NL. The NL is so loaded to the AL. It's like the NFC, AFC again.
Yeah, like this Phillies team needs every ounce of what they currently have to make a run at it. And to your point, you can't. It's foolish to even think they could do it minus Schwarber and Suarez. It's not going to happen. Even with those 2 guys, it's an uphill battle, which is why, and you and I go back to this so many times, it's about capitalizing on your windows. And that year where the path for them was through Arizona and through the Rangers was, if you were going to do it the easy way, you had to do it then. I'm not saying they can't still do it, but every passing year it has gotten 10 times harder on themselves.
I don't think I'm ever going to experience a more worse sports heartbreak than that.
I mean, that's not
I went to Gino's afterwards, and I was just sitting there so sad at the cheesesteak in my hand.
Well, that's a pretty depressing cheesesteak also.
It was really depressing cheesesteak. I didn't know what to do. I was 3 a.m. I worked the next day. Like, it was awful, but I was just reading here. I was looking for a Ranger Suarez contract prediction. And, of course, Ruben Amaro, the GM himself, on the broadcast booth, says he's going to make north of $25 million. I don't know if Middleton's going to open them pockets for that.
Not to that, but I think somebody will.
So I don't disagree with you because
put it in perspective. We're paying bum-ass Taijuan Walker 18.
I mean, if you just replace those contracts and add a couple dollars, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, you could just drop one and
and you just let Luzardo walk at the end of his deal. Because you can't pay
Luzardo... Luzardo has another year, though.
Yeah, another year, but you let him walk after the end of next year.
You pretty much have to. Because
or you trade the deadline isn't expiring. If it was a disaster, I don't know.
You make the money work somehow to get Ranger. I don't think they will, but you find a way.
Bohm's contract's up, too, so, like...
Yeah, I mean, Bohm only saves... I mean, I shouldn't say only. You're going to have to get someone to play third base. So... You're not going to find a cheaper
he's 1 more year of arbitration. So they'll come to an agreement for next year.
Yeah, because I think he's making $8 million this year. I think he'd be hard pressed to find a better third baseman for less money.
I agree.
So that the money's the Taiwan Ranger money is where you're looking. It'd be Taiwan plus 7 or 8 million.
Yeah. So before we go here, can we give grades not to individuals, but to the coaching staff and the GM?
Sure. Okay. I would say, and I think we're going to disagree. I think this overall has been a B season from Rob Thompson. I think it's been, above average, but not quite his best. I also think he has been asked to do an awful lot with very little in the way of a bullpen. Like, most of my beef with Rob Thompson comes with two things. I think the blind trust in some of his bullpen guys is frustrating, but I understand that he finds himself in kind of a rock and a hard place situation. And the other one is his insistence on a platoon between two mid guys. Look, neither one of them can hit worth a damn. At least let one of them try to get consistent reps. Other than that, I think he's still the best manager the Phillies could ask for at this time. There's nobody else out there better than he is. So I think I give him a B. And Dombrowski, pre-deadline this year, I'm going C-. Obviously Kepler was a colossal mistake out there and left. Most of us didn't think that was going to work. Failing to address the bullpen in any meaningful way was always going to backfire, and it has. So again, pending what he does at the deadline, I think he is a big reason why we are where we are.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go a tad lower than you.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to give Rob a C. I mean, I understand, it's easy to blame the manager of the team.
Yeah.
But I see these other decisions managers are making. I'm like, okay, it's fine. And then Rob doesn't have the bullpen help. A C might be a little low, but I'm okay with that. I'm going to give Dombrowski I was this close to giving him an F. I'll give him a D because the Luzardo trade feels, even though he's, had his ups and downs, it still feels like such a solid value for where he is in the rotation. So that saves his grade for me. And then you give Kaufman an A and then Kevin Long an F. So
yeah, Kevin Long, he has the best job security in baseball, and he has earned absolutely none of it. I could see where you're coming from. I knew we weren't going to see eye to eye on Rob. I'm a little bit more forgiving of the manager.
You probably thought I was going to be lower, though. Like I've come up a little bit from what I've said. Yeah,
well, there were times you were like, we need to fire him and promote Howie Kendrick or whatever, or Brandon Phillips.
Yeah,
the team. Like,
I'm looking for magic.
Yeah, you're looking. You know what the fuck you're looking for though? It's Rob Thompson. You're looking for Rob Thompson.
I'm looking for Rob 2.0. I'm looking for what Rob was again.
Yeah, we currently have Rob Thompson.
Yeah, lightning strike doesn't really strike twice, and I'm looking for it though.
Nah, so I think both of them are fair. I could easily talk myself into a D for Dombrowski, but the reason I gave him the grade was Luzardo. That's his life raft to me.
That's why I didn't give him an F.
Yeah,
that elevated his grade. Luzardo's been good. Every other move probably gets like a very bad grade. It just hasn't been a good offseason for Dave, and he was cash strapped a little bit. It felt like because Middleton did open them pockets, and the contracts are coming up, so we'll see what happens. We'll see if Dave can redeem himself. I mean, a Class A for Quan trade without giving up Painter probably upgrades my grade to like a B.
Yeah, honestly. If he swings that, I'd be pretty damn impressed. Or if he gets me, there's a couple scenarios. If he gets me both Pittsburgh relievers, I'm on board with that. That's cool too. Quan and Class A would be dope. And then that's really either of those two scenarios would bump him up to probably a B- in my book.
I think the Twins would as well if you could get one or both of those relievers, or maybe Byron Buxton. I know he's injury prone, but man, when he's healthy, he's incredible.
He has a full no trade.
I didn't know that. Well, okay, the relievers.
Full no trade.
The reliever. I mean, I think he'd want to go to Philly.
At the end of the Derby, they interviewed him about the teams on his no trade list, And he said, to be quite honest with you, like, I can't wait to retire a Minnesota Twin. Like, I have no interest in going
I'll toss
anywhere
that
else.
idea. I missed the I was on a plane during the Derby, so like I missed the whole thing. So
Yeah, Phillies fans were with you. Everybody was like, get Byron Buxton over here, and then he threw ice cold water on that rumor.
I mean, it's tough, but if Dave could get some bullpen help, and maybe yeah, I don't think for both from different teams. I don't think he could go out and get a reliever from Minnesota and then someone like Duran from Boston. I don't think he could do that. So I think Dave's going to have one big swing with one team, and I'm okay with any of the teams that you listed.
All right. Well, we'll see what he does. We got a couple. We got maybe. Actually, no. This is our last pod before the deadline because
I think
Ryan was on vacation. More. I will be on vacation
right.
next week.
Yeah.
Actually, wait. No, sorry. I misspoke. I am gone from Friday to Wednesday.
Nice. Good timing.
So
I couldn't time it that well.
Yeah, I'll be here next Thursday, and I will have just landed the following. So yeah, we'll keep our schedule.
That works for me. I mean, it's gonna be an interesting deadline. Hopefully, Dave knows he needs to do something. He's always had that big, chip shove. The World Series of Poker we're just on 2 days ago. He has that big chip shove every time with every team. The Tigers, he did it a couple of times.
So we'll
he hasn't done that in terms of a trade yet with the Phillies. So I think it happens. I don't know who or where, but I think it's one of the possibilities we've discussed. And I could see relievers or an outfielder coming back.
We'll see what he does. But in the meantime, I'm Brandon. That's Ryan. We'll catch you later. See if this outro works. What are the